because they say, why should we spend on military? That's a tremendous cost. Most nations can't afford to even think about it. Why should we spend on military? The United States protects us. And I would say that's largely true. We protect Canada, and I say Canada should be our 51st state. There's no tariffs, no nothing. And I say that, we don't need their lumber. What do we need their lumber for? When you look at we subsidize them $200 billion a year.
I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption.
Remember when cabinet meetings were boring discussions about policy? Well, Trump's first cabinet meeting kicked off with a prayer thanking God for him specifically, totally normal, followed by Elon Musk accidentally admitting he cut Ebola funding by mistake. Oopsie, but wait. There's more. From threatening Ukraine about NATO to suggesting we sell citizenship for $5 million gold cards, this meeting was less presidential and more like a fever dream hosted by two billionaires playing government, and 21 employees have already quit in protest. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. You know something's weird when the most powerful person in the cabinet room isn't actually part of the government. Donald Trump didn't just invite Elon Musk to his administration. He basically handed him the keys to the entire operation. Watching this cabinet meeting was like seeing a kid show off his cool new friend to all his other buddies. Except in this case, the kid is the president of the United States. Trump paraded Musk around like the main attraction at a circus, complete with a MAGA hat that looked freshly purchased. The real shocker came when actual cabinet members, you know, the people actually confirmed by the Senate to run government departments, had to sit silently while Trump kept turning to Musk for answers on complex policy issues. Imagine being a cabinet secretary with decades of experience and watching your boss ask the Twitter guy what to do about federal regulations. The theater of it all reached peak absurdity when Musk did his little wardrobe reveal. Like some budget Superman, he opened his jacket to show off a tech support t-shirt while claiming he was just there to provide humble technical support. Yeah, super humble. That's definitely the first word that comes to mind when thinking about Elon Musk.
A lot of fraud, and probably some fraud that we're not going to be able to prove is fraud, but when you hear the names and the places where this money's going, it's a disgrace.
So like, well, is this real? Just go to doge.gov. We line item by line item, we specify each item. So,
and I say Canada should be our 51st state. There's no tariffs, no nothing. And I say that, and the Doge is very important, and Elon is here to give you some.
But the real drama kicked in when Musk started making apocalyptic warnings about America's financial future. With all the subtlety of a Michael Bay movie, he declared, if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. Nothing says calm, measured governance like threatening total economic collapse to justify whatever cuts you want to make. It's the government equivalent of telling your kids they'll starve if they don't eat their vegetables. Trump's reaction to any potential criticism of his new bestie was telling. Rather than allowing any debate or discussion among his actual appointed officials, Trump blurted out, "Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If they are, we'll throw them out of here." Well, that settles it. No need for multiple viewpoints when you can just threaten to fire anyone who disagrees with the billionaire who wasn't elected to anything.
So for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola prevention.
And the New York Times reports that the top 5 biggest cuts that Doge claimed to have put forward.
Because they say, why should we spend on military? That's a tremendous cost. Most nations can't afford to even think about it. Why should we spend on military? The United States protects us. And I would say that's largely true. We protect Canada, but
I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption.
The incompetence behind the Tough Guy Efficiency Act became crystal clear when Musk casually mentioned they'd accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola prevention. Oops, just a little mistake. Accidentally cutting funding for preventing a deadly disease. But don't worry, he assured everyone they restored the Ebola prevention immediately once someone pointed out that maybe preventing deadly outbreaks might be important. It's the governing equivalent of saying my bad after nearly burning down the house. This approach to government has real consequences. consequences. 21 federal employees didn't just complain or grumble, they flat out resigned in protest. Their resignation letter didn't mince words. We will not use our skills as technologists to compromise core government systems, jeopardize American sensitive data, or dismantle critical public services. These aren't just disgruntled workers. These are professionals who recognize dangerous incompetence when they saw it.
Without us, Canada can't make it. You know, Canada relies on us 95%. We rely on them 4%. Big difference.
They've now been removed from their website because they were all fraudulent claims. They were just completely made up, factual errors. And
we don't need their lumber. What do we need their lumber for? When you look at we subsidize them $200 billion a year. It's not fair. It's not fair that they're not paying their way. And if they had to pay their way, they couldn't exist.
The most telling moment of this whole fiasco might be Trump's desperate attempt to paper over the obvious tension. After reports emerged about cabinet members' discomfort with Musk's outsized role, Trump rushed to his social media platform to declare in all caps that all cabinet members are extremely happy with Elon. Nothing says everything is normal and fine, like screaming in capital letters about how happy everyone is. It's like those hostage videos where people read statements saying they're being treated well while blinking SOS in Morse code. The bankruptcy warnings are particularly rich, coming from a man whose businesses have filed for bankruptcy multiple times, but they serve a purpose, creating enough fear to justify giving unprecedented power to someone who wasn't elected and isn't accountable to voters. Meanwhile, career government employees who understand how these systems actually work are being pushed out or quitting in protest. What we're witnessing goes way beyond a weird cabinet meeting. This is a full-blown constitutional crisis where Elon Musk, a guy nobody voted for, has somehow become the shadow president.
We give them military protection. They have a very small military. They spend very little money on military. On NATO, they're just about last in terms of payment.
Said they cut $55 billion in spending. They've actually only reduced about $2 billion with all this chaos, just $2 billion.
Of what's happening, some of the things they found, some of the horrible things they found, some of the theft and fraud, and we call it waste and abuse, but...
And I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect, but when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly.
The experts are freaking out about this, saying Musk's control over government efficiency decisions raises serious questions about who's actually running the show. Sure, previous presidents like Eisenhower had business buddies giving advice, but nothing like this. Musk has been described as the most powerful person in Trump's inner circle, more influential than the actual cabinet members that were, confirmed by the Senate and stuff. So the real question isn't whether Grumpy Trumpy's cabinet is happy with their tech daddy, it's whether Americans are cool with having a president who looks more like Musk's puppet than the leader of the free world. Talk about an orange turd handing over the nuclear codes to the guy who named his kid after a math equation.